When we started to work on the toolbox and we were in the responsibility to develop the toolbox for the Commission, we didn't know what are the available tools. There were no projects working with the European Bauhaus framework, and everything was quite new to us. So our challenge was to work with tabula rasa and to develop a document, while your challenge, as I understood after the 2 hours with you, is that you have plenty of tools and you need to navigate the complexity of possibilities. So to do so, I was thinking how to move for so we were somewhere completely different. We were looking for tools. We were actually desperately looking for tools. And perhaps now when you hear about the projects and the tools that we use, something sounds familiar. And our ambition is now to add the nebbishness. Also, the nebbishness is somehow a discussed term and it's not accepted by some European Bauhaus newcomers and those who are more experienced. But I think this is a nice guiding word. So we can move on and how to make sure that we are navigating the European Bauhaus universe in the meantime. So our approach is to somehow close the eyes and sense the city and activate the senses. Also the one sense that is not obvious and is not described in the toolbox. In one of the tools that Joella showed you is the intuition. And the intuition then relates to the participatory processes and also to the understanding of the beauty. And this leads me to the second keyword, which would be the translation that was also addressed in the first part, how to start to speak and how in which language. And I think the European Bauhaus provides you the simple language, which also can be used in the visual form. And this is our message to use the toolbox in the way that applies to your needs and responds to your needs. We can move on, Joella, also to help you navigate the complexity by realizing what you need. And what we did is we took from the compass that you know that also Rita presented, we took so-called flowers, European Bauhaus flowers. They were not called this way, but this was also easier for us simply to call them flowers. And I can tell you when we had many discussions with the Joint Research Center, they actually were surprised that we called these flowers, and this is now a part of the toolbox. What you could do to activate your stakeholders and to navigate is exactly to design your own flower during one of the workshops to realize where you are when it comes to the ambitions described in the compass, where you want to be, and perhaps there are some different expectations. Then you need to sit together and discuss where the journey should leave you. And we did it also in one of our Horizon projects. Joella, if you could move on to the next one. And you see that the interpretation of the flowers might be different and surprising, not always fitting what we suggested. So this is resulting from our project with more cities. I selected only 6 so-called flowers. And we had very nice experiences with the toolbox, but also with simply asking the stakeholders and the project owners or the project managers, the cities, how they interpret what the European Bauhaus is at all. And once you agree where you are, when you want to go, which ambitions are relevant, which working principles should be highlighted more, you can select the tools that are described and suggested in the toolbox. And in this way, it's, I guess, easier to design your workshops, perhaps also enhance the tools that you are working with the documents that are produced in your project and in the craft project as well. So there are already many tools, many toolboxes, and the challenge is to find your way. So if you start with the visual, simple task, you can also do it in the national languages, and then you open up the experience to those who are perhaps less comfortable in the English language, and still the message is clear. And it's also somehow useful to document the process. So in this particular project, we will capture the learning experience by monitoring the development of the flowers. And what is also quite exciting the European Bauhaus framework is this life-centered approach. So it's not only about being human-centered, what we know from many methodologies. You can go beyond that and activate more than human approach, also to include and integrate those environmental concerns. And this is also kind of playful opportunity, because when you walk with those flowers, you can also make links to endemic species, to make some links to the local nature, to the cities in the nature. You can then activate the senses again, also when it comes to the recognition of the beauty of nature and the participatory processes in the broader sense, when we embrace the species, the buildings, the entire living and not living entire environment in the cities. So when we could move on, Joella, to the I think last slides on our end before we can discuss it briefly. So we also wanted to share with you what we learned doing while we were developing the toolbox. Some reflections are overlapping what was already said, starting with the fact that ugliness, so not beauty, the opposite, let's say, uh, um, status quo, is mostly defined by the lack of the value for the citizens. So this is not only about agreeing what is beautiful, what is not beautiful, but what brings value to people and the environment could be also beautiful. And in the 20 projects that we had together with Orta, we had places which are obviously difficult to classify it as beautiful, yet after the technical assistance, they were perceived as important for the community. And then also the beautiful approach could be liquid and being part of the process when you invite children to do something beautiful during creative workshops in, let's say, abandoned, not very beautiful buildings. The value is created in this particular moment, and this particular moment could create beautiful memories in a particular place-based workshops. On the other hand, no one wants theory. So people, while working with the European Bauhaus, are much more process-oriented. And also what we learned, perhaps this was relevant for our project only, that also the smartness of the cities is often less wanted by the citizens themselves than the connection to nature and green environment, which was also somehow fueled by the experience of the pandemic, where we were too much digital, but perhaps not enough in the living environment. So also with the European Bauhaus, the simplicity provided by the framework, by the compass mainly, is the main challenge to discuss the simple terms, obviously simple terms like beauty or inclusivity or participatory processes. So we are still here starting from scratch, from the beginning of the simple terms, but yet they may turn out to be difficult. But on the other hand, they can help to trigger the discussion, and can help you to discover the beauty everywhere while you design beautiful and meaningful processes that make sense for the local communities. And also what we learned when it comes to the flowers that I recommended to you, it's sometimes fine to address lower ambitions while designing European Bauhaus related processes. It doesn't have to be the highest ambition to change everything at once. So micro steps, micro emancipatory processes are often more important for the communities, also to trigger the integration of values and working principles, which is the foundation of the European Bauhaus experience. So the integration, the simplicity, the challenges that may arise of it can lead you to your own definition of beauty, which can lead the processes on the ground and make people being proud of the project that you are conducting, starting with perhaps some place-based intervention, like in the case of Rotterdam and Orta, and then spreading all over the city when you discover the city with your senses, including the societal intuition and the understanding of beauty, processes, and change. I think that's it on our end.